Hey everybody, it's Michael from Steelyard here for the week 4 happy hour here with the crew from Steelyard. We've got Sandy and Catherine and Sarah. Ladies, how are you?
Hey, hey.
I'm good.
Good, good. All right, so it's week 4, but we don't break with tradition, even though, you know, we've meandered down the road here on a lot of these chats. We always start with what we're drinking because it's happy hour. So I'm going to go first this week only because I'm really eager to take a sip. So I don't want it to get any warmer. Sticking with my local brewery here in the area, I've got a Florida Orange IPA from Three Daughters this week. I am an IPA guy at all, but this is Florida Oranges. So the reviews have all said basically it's like Florida in a can, even if you don't like IPAs. Absolutely phenomenal. So just that burst of orange, excellent. And not being an IPA guy, I'm shocked. But on a Friday night, a little bit warm here in Florida, I'm drinking my Florida Orange IPA. Let's kick it over to you, Sarah.
Yeah, just keeping it classic over here with some Modelo. So that's like my all-time favorite. I was able to finally find some in Chicago that I was able to get delivered. So it was...
There you go.
Yeah.
Okay. Catherine, kicking around to you.
I had to return to my preppy days and go with a sea breeze because, you know, it's the water, it's a holiday weekend, it's a lovely, hopefully sunshiny, no rain. Might be the first weekend in 7 or 8 that we've had all sunny. So went with a sea breeze, sounded festive.
There you go. I love it. Okay. And Sandy, what about you?
Because it's a long weekend. I'm not a tequila drinker, but I have a margarita and it's made with Casamigos tequila.
Oh, I have that. Yeah. It's so good.
And yes, it was signed for me by George Clooney and some other guy.
What?
No, it's just George Clooney is involved with it somehow. But this was recommended to me, and so we've had a house full for several weeks, and this has been the house tequila. So figured it was kind of it was hot here today, as Michael said. We're in Florida, and so felt like a good day for a marg.
There you go. Fantastic. Well, tonight, before we toast, we're going to honor the fact that it is a holiday weekend, right? It is a long weekend. I'm sure our plans are a little different than most Memorial Days, beaches and barbecues and everything else. But I think it's important to first remember, what Memorial Day is about. We honor all of those who have fallen, all of our fallen soldiers that have given their life for our country. So we honor that. And I think really is never forget and forever honor. So we raise our glasses to all of those who have perished for our country. So
yes.
All right. On that note, let's move into week 4 of High Point at Home here. No news about High Point at all this week, right? Nothing.
Yeah.
No.
Not really
going on.
Okay. So we're going to first answer the trivia question from this morning that some of you saw on social media. I did my little preview video, and I kind of deceived people a little bit. I said 9 days, which is the hidden part of the quote, to 9 times, right? Got interesting guesses from Sandlot to I have no idea. And I think the way I said it brought out the Sandlot in some people, like forever. But really, Ferris Bueller's Day Off. So first, tip to Ashley from High Point Market Authority for having never seen Ferris Bueller's.
No. My kids have seen it before her because I broke down last weekend and let them watch it. Ashley.
Come on. I mean, are you
really?
Some of the greatest scenes, you really have to let your imagination go a little bit. But the Sausage King of Chicago, Sarah. I mean, you're in Chicago, right?
Yeah,
It's just a classic movie. So the 9 days, the 9 times is how many days Ferris was absent from school. Principal on the phone with his mom. He's been absent 9 times. 9 days. And then computer. Anyway, that's the answer to the trivia question. So we had no winners. Nobody got Ferris Bueller's Day Off. So thanks for playing. High Point Market. Let's talk about what's going on here. So the 9 days references the fact that they rolled out their plan this week. High Point Market will be from October 13th to the 21st now, 9 days, in 3 periods, period 1, 2, and 3. each of those being 3 days. So I'm going to share my screen and we can talk through it a little bit. I know there's a lot of questions. I know people have been asking. So I'm going to share that and we can talk through it. And just know that we will have the team from High Point Market Authority on in July when official registration comes on. We'll do a chat with them, a Zoom chat, and they'll walk us through everything. I talked to them several times this week. Obviously, a lot of people have questions. A lot of people want to know more. But if you go to High Point and Home and you go right here, we renamed the tab. It's now Register for October Market. We've got that here, and you can see all the information. Down here at the bottom is the, scrolling, somewhere up here. It's somewhere. There's information. So it takes you to the High Point site. And you can see here the 9-day market divided into 3 periods. So the first one being October 13th to the 15th, and the 16th to the 18th, and 19th to the 21st. As you scroll down, it gets a little more complicated, but not much, right? So it's regionalized. Look, the whole reason they did this, and they said it in the press release, right, is to help people feel safer, to maintain an environment where people can come and split up the crowd a little bit, right? So the regions, as you can see, the blue half of the country, the north and all the way to the southwest there, can go either period 1 or period 2. And then the gold, they go either period 2 or period 3. So I guess the assumption is that period 2, the folks who go period 2 will be evenly split between the folks from Region A and Region B. So not as complicated as I think some people are making it out to be, but I think there's a lot of open questions. So you guys, what was your first reaction to this?
My first reaction was, okay, everybody's going to want to be in that first, that first period because of limited stock and getting orders and everything. But that is actually addressed later, a little farther down, where they are going to encourage the vendors to, space out or sort of segment their availability, for each section. So, once they take, the maximum number of, they'll split their orders into 3 sections. And once they fill the maximum number for the first section, then you go on a waiting list or whatever, so that everybody will have a chance, equal chance to get those hot items or, get a priority. I think people are going to worry about priority, and it looks like this has been addressed pretty nicely.
Yeah.
I think that's right. And I think, look, they're going to program for the whole market, right? So there's going to be events. There's going to be all the different things that you've got to see, right? Like the Style Spotters Live that we talked about earlier. I'm sure they'll do something to maximize that across the sessions, or other speaking engagements or other hot events. And I think the manufacturers are going to recognize that too. I think that some of them will do different things, where they will focus on, maybe retailers in one period, designers another, in terms of staffing or things like that. But I think there's a lot to learn still. I think that I know, right, that the team at HPMA doesn't take things lightly when they make a decision. So I'm sure they talk to a lot of people, I'm sure, right? And there's a lot to consider with it, where everybody comes from. So what I thought was interesting too was pointing out international buyers can select from any of the 3 periods, and students, those passes will only be available during period 3, which I think is usually the high student time anyway at the end of when they come in. So I think they've addressed all things, right? Now there's questions about where your office is and everything else. It says very clearly where your corporate office is, right? So for a firm that's got 30 offices or 5 offices, it says very specifically your corporate office. Thought that was an interesting caveat to everything too. So I think we're going to learn a lot more, right? But they're addressing a problem, right? People are concerned even about October. We have said it on this chat. We've said it throughout High Point at Home. This market's going to be a huge deal. People are eager to get back there. So I think they've taken a step forward here. And I think, more will come, right?
Yeah. I think, I think there could be a lot of positive things that come out. Could be more tailored to your track, depending on what your track is. And so I think, I feel like people are going to get more attention, and it's going to be maybe easier than it was before. I think it could be a really cool thing. I think we're going to have creative ways of addressing those 3 phases.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I think that's right, Sandy. And you know what I want to point out too is, staying in touch with us, signing up for updates from us is going to be important, because you're going to have to be more efficient. If you've got a 3-day period and you're used to being there for 7 days, you've got a little more efficient in how you go through the showrooms and what you're doing and what you're paying attention to. So we're going to address all of those things as well. Leading up to market, we're going to make a concerted effort. That will be our primary concern, is making sure that the designers know what they should do and where they should go and how to be more efficient. So you should definitely sign up for the insider updates. But let's talk too about signing up for market. I mentioned that registration is until July. We've had pre-registration on High Point and Home here. So if you go to register for October market, it's right here. You can go ahead and pre-register. What that means, this is more meaningful than ever now, right, is that you are first in line. This means that when registration opens in July, the HPMA team is going to call you right away. You will be at the top of the list to get calls to finish your registration. So if sessions are going to sell out, right, if people are going to go, phase 1, phase 2, you want to be in line, right? So that makes sense. You can pre-register here, and then all the way up through May 31st, just to make this a little sweeter for you, like my orange is sweet and delicious. If you pre-register by May 31st, you have a chance to win a $1,000 travel voucher, compliments of High Point Market Authority. So that's all on here. I just want to keep pointing that out to everybody as well. That's here. And then the get notified, which is in fact those updates that I talked about. So I think we've got a lot to learn, a lot to see. All right, moving on, we've got new introductions. So we've said this, Sarah, we've said for every week of the 4 weeks that we've been doing this so far, that there is more coming, and more came this week. We've got 6 new brands on High Point and Home this week. We'll start on the second row here. We've got GREENINGTON, KRAVET, and Exquisite. And I want to go into GREENINGTON. I am a big fan of this brand. It's sustainable, go with bamboo, as you can see. Big fan of them. Yeah. Take us through this a little bit.
No, I mean, they sent over a lot of images. I just picked some of my favorites, but like everything is super gorgeous. Like I honestly hadn't heard of GREENINGTON before this, but now they're definitely on my radar. Like I love the sort of mix of the light and dark bamboo that they do, and really they have it like for every single room too. So I've known some friends that have had that in the past, just as like more of an eco-conscious choice, and I like that too, like the dark there, because you can't tell it's bamboo. It's like looks like a solid, but no, I mean, this was one of my favorite ones this week for sure.
Cool. I think what I'm seeing as I'm scrolling through, and I don't know a better way to say this, but the pieces are a little bit stretched out, right? Like because of the angles, because of how this leg is on an angle like that, it looks larger than it probably is, right? And I come up and I can see that again on this piece here with the longer leg that's on an angle, right?
Yeah.
Angles really add a flair to the pieces. There's one more up here. This coffee table.
Sense of movement. Yeah, it's like a sense of movement.
Yeah. So beautiful, really, really great manufacturers, really great brand. And I think sustainable and eco-conscious, Sarah, is going to be a big thing that comes out of the time that we're in right now. People
absolutely.
On that. So really glad that GREENINGTON's participating here. You can check that out. And then let's go into KRAVET. They launched a new campaign, right? A new collection.
New collection, yes, the ICREATE collection. So, if you tap in there. So it encompasses chairs, tables, ottomans, beds. I said that twice. Upholstery, but yeah, I mean, really cool. I really, really like the chest too. It's just sort of like the decorative hardware is almost sort of like jewelry. It's nice. So
that was a big thing, and I'll go back to the chest there. It was a big thing that came out of Style Spotters Night. I finally got to watch that this week and hear some of the things they were saying, but the hardware was a big part of the conversation, right? So I think, Sarah, that you picked that out here on KRAVET with the iCreate, just the ability to choose different hardware or really make the hardware pop seemed to be a a recurring theme in the Style Spotters live conversation. So I thought that was really interesting here.
Yeah, and for this, I do also want to point out, we'll go over this, but on our events tab, Sarah KRAVET is doing a presentation on June 4th. So if you're interested in learning more, go to our events tab, sign up, and she'll be doing a presentation on this collection specifically. So
cool, love that. Okay, let's move on. So we've covered KRAVET, we've covered Greenington, we've got, exquisite rugs. All right, so we've been hinting at these guys for a couple weeks, right? We added more to their listing here, but they're also going live on SteelYard next week, hopefully. We've got some more images that we're adding in at this moment. But this is a great, we talked about them, I think, last week in Happy Hour. Just beautiful pieces out of California is where they're located. So good to see them on here as well. Shop at home with exquisite rugs. They're taking orders and shipping. So we covered them last week and this week. All right, going to the top row very quickly. All right, Piper. Let me tell you a story about Piper Collection, because I like to tell stories. You all know this. So a couple months ago, I was at Universal's Monday night party. Our friends over at Universal, they always throw a great Monday night party. I was sitting watching some of their sales staff dance toward the end of the night as the night got a little crazier. And I happened to meet Whitney from Piper Collection here, just a brilliant young woman who started her collection of pillows out of, gosh, I even forget where she's at, Charleston or Charlotte. I can't even remember. Charlotte?
Charlotte.
Okay. Whitney, forgive me. I forgot where you were from. But just an absolutely beautiful collection of pillows that she's done. And it really was her passion. And I've talked to her a lot over the years about what that meant for her and the business. And there's some beautiful pieces. I just think that she does a remarkable job. So
yeah, I absolutely love Piper. Like every new thing that they put out, I want. Like they're great. Yeah.
That's great. And it's quality, right? She really does everything. Everything's done by hand. Everything's done, here in the U.S. And I think she does a nice job. So I'm glad that Whitney's participating here as well. I talked to her this week. She is busier than ever because she is taking orders. She is shipping as well. So that's awesome to hear from her. All right, let's go to Tritter Fever. I hinted in social media the other day. It's one of my favorite stories in the industry about the name. So go to Tritter Fever, read the story. ML, it's her grandkids and how they could pronounce names. I'm going to butcher the story to try to tell it. I'm not good at stories. I just like telling them. And I think it's just fun. It's a fun little story about how the name came up. So let's take a look at some of their new introductions here. Ooh, that's beautiful. Okay, so the oval dining table. So we've got a couple dining tables here right at the top.
And custom, they offer custom.
Yeah.
So you can customize any of this. It's made to order.
Cool. I love that desk. That's brilliant. I love that. I think working from home, especially right now, I like to rest my foot on something when I'm sitting at my desk.
Mm-hmm.
So I love that crossbar there.
Never thought of that.
Put my foot up on that right as I'm working. I think that's great. Beautiful. Cool. All right, that's new from Tritter Fever. Hi, ML. Hi, Bill. Good to see you guys. All right, and then our last one, Alcantara. All right, so literally a brand that saw one of our videos, one of our happy hours, and picked up the phone and called me.
Oh, great.
They were going to be at High Point for the first time in April, getting a feel for it, and then hopefully going a lot bigger in October. So their plans kind of went by the wayside, but this is a textiles brand out of Italy. Sarah, talk us through some of what they've given us here.
Yeah, so they have new collection. If you keep scrolling, I have just one page of their catalog that you can download. The other really cool thing about this is they made a SteelYard microsite too, like specific for our designers as well. So if you click through that, it takes you to their site, but they kind of just made this page with just more resources as well, which I thought was really, really cool. So you can just kind of get a peek at their collections, contact them, craftsmanship video. So really liked that idea that they did that.
Cool. just a really high-end textile brand out of Italy, right? So they do a lot of marine, right? So a lot of boats, a lot of yachts. They do a lot of car upholstery, but they have moved they've been making a move into upholstery and working with designers directly. So a really cool story. And I think what you see here, Sarah, and you said it with this site, they're trying to provide resource. It was a conversation I had with them this week where we talked through that fact that you've got a very high-end textile here. Why should I do that? Why should I work with you? Why should this textile, why should this fabric be on my piece, right? So they understand the need for resources and education. So I thought that was pretty cool. All right, let's go backwards. You mentioned a couple things with events and everything else, but I want to go through one other not so new introduction, but a cool little story, right? So let's go down to our friends at Howard Elliott. We have talked about them throughout the last couple weeks. We went through their collection. We had our Zoom chat with Brian and Colleen. But let's go in and show the latest, I think, greatest thing that they've ever developed. And of course, it was Colleen demoing it here. Let's scroll down a little bit. Oh, I gotta find it. Here we go. So
Awesome.
they were obviously making the face masks. They were one of the first to do it in the industry. And they were doing it, obviously for the medical community in Chicago.
Mm-hmm.
They were, one of the first ones to do it. But now they're having a little fun. Now they've added a little flair to the face masks. So you got one here. But the one I want to point out, and I mentioned, was the one that, of course, Colleen was demoing.
I think I know, yeah.
That is Colleen with a flap that goes back and forth so that you can get the straw in there and have it drink.
Yeah. I love
That's
that.
awesome.
It's like such a good idea. I can think for like planes or like anywhere. It's awesome. I love it.
Absolutely. But they thought it through, right? I mean, because the flap goes back and forth. It's not just a hole that you stick the straw into. So this was pretty cool. So you can go through all of them, but there's Colleen, all of her drinks. Love that. She sent that to me this week, and I knew we had to get that up. I thought that was awesome. But again, it goes back to the story we've been telling. They're one of the first in line to help the medical community and produce masks. And now they're having a little fun with it, right? So there you go. You can see that here. Oh, we've got Colleen modeling quite a few times, in fact. All right, there you go.
She's really happy.
She's very chic. I mean, she's a...
Colleen, you're chic. You hear this? I've never heard the word chic used for you.
Always got that great haircut. So I don't know how she has a great haircut during the time of COVID. I think she's, I don't know. She must have some good hookup because...
There you go. That's awesome. Cool. And then there were, very quickly, we'll go through, Four Hands made some updates as well. That's on here under new introductions. All right, let's go over to events. I'm going to see if I can juggle the screen here, go to events, and Sarah will take a look at some of the things we've replenished the events. So Wednesdays has been super fun. I mentioned I think last week I mentioned the Artful Wednesday with Libby, but that's a continuing series here that's going on. And a few other things. You mentioned KRAVET, so that's a pretty cool opportunity. When is that? June 4th?
June 4th, yeah. Okay,
with Sarah KRAVET. Cool. And we've got some other things there. So you'll continue to see that populated all next week as more events happen. All right. On to the next page of my notes here. Let's go to giveaways very quickly. We already mentioned the travel voucher for High Point at Home, but I want to point this out. I have not been sleeping this week, and I keep thinking about this giveaway. I'm going to enter it. Sorry, Natalie. I'm going to enter this, 4-pillow bar. But they're giving away queen down sleeping pillows with custom embroidery from the pillow bar. So
nice.
We'll enter to win.
Do you know why they have the custom embroidery? Because it's on the pillow protector. And I was kind of thinking, well, why do you have embroidery, when you're going to have a pillowcase over it? But it's because so many people like their pillows that their spouse was like stealing it. So they put your own initials on it so everybody knows whose is whose, because you also have it customized to how you sleep. So,
okay.
But there is nothing that says a designer who wants to like maybe give these or, put these in their installation can't put their firm logo on there. Just
true.
Right.
You can brand on it, if you're passing it along. So I just thought
I
that was,
love that.
yeah.
I love that story though, Sandy. I mean, it wasn't just about monogramming a pillowcase. It was about monogramming the pillow to produce the comfort of it. I love that.
Yeah. Yeah. So everybody knows
That's a
who's
simple enter to win.
Yeah.
And it's a great product.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah.
They're
This is
live on
on
Steelyard now as well, Catherine, right?
Yeah, that's true. Yes.
Okay, so they are live on Steelyard. You can still win your Polywood Adirondack chairs as I sit in my ocean chairs that I always show up here. And then the purse table from Baker is still up there as well, and the $1,000 travel voucher. Okay. Moving on, let's go over to Zoom chats. We took a little break from the Zoom chats. We got them back up and running this week. I had just a wonderful chat, and you'll see this at the top here, with a designer out of Brooklyn named Kathleen Walsh. And I said it in an email we sent out this week promoting the Zoom chats. You may not have heard of Kathleen, but you're going to want to after watching this, right? I thought, I told her so too. I said, you know, I don't know you. We had a wonderful chat, but I said I really loved her perspective on things. So one of the things we talked about, and you should listen to the Zoom chat for, is about what you're going to need, what designers are going to need from manufacturers coming out of this time, right? So she was the polar opposite of the Bauer Clifton guys, right? Jeremy and Jason are in Alaska, not used to having showrooms around. Kathleen's in New York City.
Right.
She's used to literally taking her clients to showrooms to sit, touch, and feel, right? So not being able to do that, she's had to adjust, and it really got her thinking about what are we going to need from manufacturers going forward when clients aren't going to want to go to showrooms, number one, or two, they're going to realize it's a lot easier not to. And what can you do to show me the product anyway? So it was a fantastic conversation on that front. But Catherine, I think that was interesting, right? As somebody in the industry a long time, I think one of the weaknesses we've heard about for a long time is education on product, right?
Right.
And what does that mean going forward? What do you think about that?
I think that as everybody tries to figure out how to do this, design centers beginning to open. There were a couple that opened this week, more over the next, rollout period of phases, showrooms in a high point market. How do people navigate that? There are a lot of showrooms that are in High Point that are open during the year too. And High Point is a destination for designers to come, but how do they do that with their clients? I think their clients, the designers I've talked to have indicated that they want to go forward with their projects, but they want to do it in a limited exposure process. So I think for manufacturers, they have to then turn and figure out ways to almost treat the designers like they treat their sales force in educating about new product. And what method do you use to do that in? Right now it's Zoom chats and FaceTimes and things like that. And I think that as they sort of adopt what they teach their sales reps to go have conversations with designers, they almost need to include the designer community at the same time so that everybody understands about their new product, how to sell it, how to show it to their client. I think we're to that point where they need to have the same level of education. And I think designers have wanted it, and manufacturers are kind of getting to the point where they're figuring out how to do that in a way that's not just the facts and figures, but it gives a little romance too. So it's a little different than training their sales force, but I think designers need that today. They need that, not just the nuts and bolts of it, but the little bit of romance, the storytelling behind it, so that they can give a better presentation to their clients now, because they're not in the same room. They might be doing a virtual project with them.
Absolutely. Absolutely. I thought an interesting thing she said was that when she saw this coming and that showrooms were going to close, she had a lot of her clients go and sit in a chair at a showroom right before everything shut down, right? And said, it's not about that chair, but it's about now making comparisons to that chair on height, seat depth, everything else, right? She just wanted them to sit in that chair so she had something to compare to.
Sure. That's a great point. This fits you great, so that's what I need to look for in dimensions and seat comfort and, soft or firm or et cetera, deep, shallow.
So I think that's going to be an ongoing conversation, and one that Steelyard's going to be part of. We're going to make sure that we are polling our designers, and we're going to have sessions at market and other things where we talk to people about what they need from the manufacturers, because that's going to be important going forward. So that was a great chat with Kathleen. Check that out. She also talked about real estate, talking with people who, she works with in New York, who buy a second home that is thousands of square feet bigger than an apartment in Manhattan, right? And talking them through that process of design. And so I thought that was really interesting too. So check that out. Zoom chat's upcoming. We've got a few more this week as we head to the end of High Point Home. We'll be talking to a few more designers this week. And then we're going to keep this going. June, I can't announce what June is yet, but July is High Point Market Authority. So we're going to move to a once a month Zoom chat with some cool people. So we'll talk to HPMA in July as registration opens up. All right, let's see. I can't read my note about what was next. Oh, insider updates. That's what I was going to say. Right. So High Point at Home ends next week, guys. Are you sad?
Yes.
Yes?
Yeah.
Yes, absolutely. I think it's a great way to discover on a more intimate basis even some of these new great brands that nobody was able to go and see their product. People can experience it. I mean, I hate to see it in. I'd love to see it go to October.
She says, and Sandy and Sarah, who have been doing a lot of the behind the scenes work here, are like, oh, it's
Well, I mean, we'll have a lot of cool things on the Steelyard site too, so that will be available.
Yeah.
It's coming up, so we
Perfect
can
segue.
fill the vacuum, I think.
perfect segue, and that's what Catherine's been working on behind the scenes. We've been hinting at that, and next Friday, the 29th of May, we will be announcing the largest launch of brands in Steelyard's history. So stay tuned next week. Click on Insider Updates, get on that list. You'll be hearing from us a lot next week with some big news. From Lexington to Norasan to, Jonathan Charles, Global Views, Studio A Home, everybody we've mentioned will be on by the end of next week. You will have an amazing experience on Steelyard. So next week's all about letting you all know that High Point at Home might be coming to an end, but we are ready for October, and we're ready to transition you over to Steelyard. It's a free platform for the designer, and we want to make sure that you're using that because it's going to help you as we hope High Point at Home has helped you, right? So, all right. Well, look, my beer is empty again. So that's when I know we sign off is when the beer is empty.
That's right.
I brought the second one out just in case. There. So again, we raise our glasses to all of our fallen heroes in our country for Memorial Day.
And enjoy a good Memorial Day holiday.
Nice.
There we go. I had to count on my former military there, Kat.
That's right. You were not going to be let down by me on Memorial Day weekend.
Absolutely not. So we'll say happy Memorial Day weekend to everybody. Stay safe, and we will see you next week for the final week of High Point at Home.
Bye, everyone.
All right, stand by. I got to find the exit now. Hang on, guys. Oh, man. You guys do you want to sing God Bless America or anything while I do that? Or
If I sing, you'll find exit really quick.
highpointathome.com.